recorded just in case. Well, anyway, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I'm very sorry about this problem. I know it makes it hard for everybody to do their work, and that is just not what we wanted. But I don't think we're too much farther away. I mean, we do definitely have a little bit more time left to go to fix things, but it's not going to take forever. So we are getting closer than we were before. So hopefully that will get us to a certain degree there. So basically, I'm just going to get into the training there, and if anybody has any questions, just feel free to unmute yourself and shout them out, so we'll get any questions answered as soon as we can. But I'll get just kind of go into it a little bit, just to let you know, this last release was pretty much the biggest one we've ever had in SRS, in the history of SRS, and I'm even thinking back to when we initially created the site wasn't this big and didn't have this many pages in it. So this is by far the biggest thing we've ever done, and I can also tell you this is the biggest thing we will ever do again, at least as long as I'm here. This was too big. We let too many details slip through. We ran out of time on some things. It didn't go as we thought it would. We did everything we could, but I know now in the future we're not going to attempt anything big like this. We will do it in smaller chunks, make sure the details are right. So, at least I don't know, lesson learned there, but that's something that I don't foresee this happening again. I certainly don't ever want this to happen again. So this is something we want to make a thing of the past. Just to give you an idea of kind of why we made all these changes, what the reasoning was. SRS is actually becoming a fairly old website now. It was created in year 2000, and if you think about what emails and everything looked like, year 2000, what websites looked like, 19 years ago, it wasn't anything like what they are now. The technology has grown so much in 19 years that it's becoming hard for us to update SRS on this old foundational code that we had. So the need arose that we had to update to a more modern system. So what we did was we converted the entire SRS site to what's called Zen Framework 3, which is just a coding framework. It's nothing you need to know. But the thing to know about it is a modern web technology. So this is something that current websites around the world are being built in right now. So this is the current state of how you develop in the PHP language is what we use in SRS. So this is like the most modern version of it. So along with that becomes some advantages for us. One of them would be that the site can now easily work on all the different browser types. So in the past we may have told you to use Firefox, and we tell you that would be the best bet. That's really not the case anymore. So at this point, if you would prefer a certain browser, by all means feel free to use it on SRS. It may look just a hair different here or there, but overall it should look and function the same, with minor differences. Another thing we used to do this site is, reason for it is to make the site easier to update and manage. One of the nice things about this new code system we have is it's much more, you can do a lot with more. So where maybe a particular page took, a couple pages of code now, it's usually about half that to maybe 60% of what it was before. So it makes things easier to update, easier to go in and find problems, and Lord knows we're finding problems right now. So it's actually kind of easier to solve some of these problems with this. So it has been actually going fairly steady as far as getting things fixed under the new site. But maybe the thing that excites me the most about going to Zen Framework 3 is that as we move forward and, once we get past all these problems, we will be able to modify the site and update the site much faster. And one of the best ways to do that is that we don't have to invent everything ourselves. So SRS can take advantage of what's called code libraries. So other programmers, throughout the world who are programming in Zen 3, sometimes if they're really proud of what they've done, they'll share their code, their new little widgets or whatever, their little bells and whistles thing that they've come up with. they'll share those in what called code libraries. So down the road on SRS, if we come up with some new feature that we think will make the site, easier to use, more efficient, more powerful, we don't have to build it from scratch. We can go to these code libraries and find, any number of like different calendars, buttons, drag and drop functionality, all sorts of things already pre-built. And all we have to do is go into these code libraries, download the code, put it into our site, and then rather than make things from scratch, we just fine-tune the code that we've already, basically borrowed or took from these libraries and just make it fit into SRS. So it should allow us to do some really cool things down the road and do them actually a little bit faster and a little bit cheaper. So that is one of the best promises of this new site. Another just kind of a minor issue is that before we were running our website off of multiple servers. So we had some pages which were older. We're running on an older server. Even last year, we were running a few Zen Framework 3 pages, which are current now, on another server, and then we had a database on a different server. So signals were bouncing all over the place. You might go to one page, you're on one server, you go to another, you go to a different one. And so that's multiple servers we have to keep track of. Channeling the data around all these different systems opens the door for more problems. So the new site is all going to be on one server. Everything is one place, and it's just going to make it a lot easier to maintain and monitor. I was trying to think of an example of that. Is a couple of weeks ago, not last week, but the week before. I want to say Monday and Tuesday of the week, the site was getting very, very slow, like almost unusably slow. So the nice thing about the new setup here is that we just had one server to look up. We looked it up. We saw that it was running slow. We could dial in a few more processors, a little more memory, and instantly, within minutes, the site was running much faster, much smoother, and it's actually been running fairly well since then, speed-wise. Let me not overstate here, but anyway, it's going to be able for us. We're going to be allowed to react to problems a little bit faster down the road because it'll be a little less complexity. And just overall, this is going to be a nice foundation of which we can build on SRS for the next 7 to 10 years before we have to do anything like this again. And like I said, when we do this again down the road, we definitely won't do it in one big messy blob like we did this time. We'll do it much more controlled and hopefully avoid a lot of the problems. So with said all that, I did want to show you some of the new features on the site. We did do a few new things this year that we thought might help boost efficiency, although that really wasn't the focus this time around. The focus was to get the site converted to the new code. But we did add some things around, some new touches here and there. So I did want to show you that. And also just as a side note, we tried to keep SRS to look and feel the same way as it always did. Keep all the IEP is basically the same format that it always was. It's going to look a little bit different, and I'll show you some of those differences. But for the most part, SRS will function the way it always did. So I do want to show you some of those. And then also, just at this point, we do have a bunch of problems. We fixed a bunch, but there's still a few. So as I go through, I want to kind of just show you some of the areas where I know we have some problems, and if there's some ways to work around it, I wanted to mention that to you just to allow you to get your work done while we're trying to iron out all the problems that we're currently seeing, okay? So let me just get into the site here. So I've got it loaded up in the back. First thing we did, just kind of a minor change, is we've been trying to eliminate clicks as best we can. So it used to be, when you come into SRS, you'd see this, this Be Advised screen, talks a little about security. We still have that, although I do hope to eliminate that in the near future as well. Once we get things ironed out, we might be eliminating this page as well, or just make it so you check it like once a year, something like that to acknowledge it, but then we can hide it. But basically, I don't want you to have to click 3 screens to get logged in. So I wanted to, we eliminated that one screen that has those radio buttons that ask, are you a current user? Are you a parent? Would you like to create a new account? So we eliminated that screen and consolidated it all into this screen you see now. So this new screen is going to have a place for your, put in your username and password like we always did. We'll still have to check that FERPA statement each time. That's something we can't get rid of. But down here, so if you wanted to apply for a new account, we have that link here now. That's something that really wasn't working before, but is working now, so that should be good. And we also have a section here, forgot your password. So if you did forget your password over the summer or there's some kind of problem going on, this would be a place where I can go here, click on this, request a change, and then I'll put in my email address and hit reset password. It'll send me a link that allows me to reset my password. So those are simple things that maybe weren't working earlier that we do have working now. So let me get logged in here and I'll show you some the other stuff. Another change we made this year is to the welcome screen. And this is a screen that really we haven't done much before. It was usually just a screen you had to click through to go to where you really wanted to go. So we added a couple little changes this year, and hopefully they'll be useful to you. The first thing I wanted to show you is this: we added a section here for the most recent students that you have updated. So basically, if you go and update any kind of student form, I think if you just save the page on any student form at all, that's going to add that student to this list of your 10 most recently visited students. And the idea here is it's just a shortcut to get back to the student forms of students you were recently working on. So rather than have you go over to the student search screen and search for a particular student that you might have been working on yesterday, if you've worked on the student recently, when you first log in, you should see their name on this list. And then all you got to do to get to their forms is just click that student's name. So if I click my Zen Framework 3 account here, it just take me to their form screen, and from there I can get into the IP, and I can be off and running and doing the work I need to do. So we thought that might be a nice little shortcut too. And then we also updated the announcements section this year. With the announcements, it used to always just be system admin, like my privilege level would be able to have a place where I could put messages that would be sent out to the SRS users, and we'd tell you things like maybe there's a new feature we want you to know about, or the site will be down. We still have that, but we also wanted to make it a little more useful to the districts and the schools themselves. So we made it so district managers can send out messages district-wide, so they can put out messages that only people in their district will see. And same concept applies for schools. So if I am a school manager, I could put in a message that only people in my school building will see. So the way that it works is like so. If I have one of those privileges, Associate School Manager Hire, I'll click on New Message. When I click that, it's going to open up this little screen here where I can put my announcement together. First thing it'll ask for is a title. And we were trying to think of like what reasons you might use to do this. It could be things like, maybe there's a new policy, but what I was thinking too is just maybe we got a staff meeting tonight. We just want to make sure everybody's aware of it. So, as an example like that, I could put, staff meeting tonight, something like that. And then over here, I could put in the beginning date. So when do I want this message to start being shown? And then over here, I could put in when do I want this message to stop being shown? So by default, it'll put in today's date, and I'll just leave that. And maybe we'll just say I want this to stop being shown as of tomorrow. So that's when it'll begin displaying immediately, and it'll stop displaying as soon as probably at midnight tonight. It'll probably stop displaying. But then there's a section here for the message, and then you just put whatever. I put staff meetings tonight in the library. You can do things like make them bold just to make it a little more readable, to emphasize a point. You can, center them, whatever makes, works for you. So you put that message in, and then down here is a section where it talks about visibility. So if I want this to be visible district-wide, I can check that box. And then some people have multiple accounts. So if you're a district manager, more than one account, or more than one district, you'll come over here and it'll show you a menu of all the districts that you have access to. But I'm just using a fake district called Earthman, a district manager account for our fake district. So I only have one, so it comes up, but I can select that. So I'll have it displayed for Earth district from this time to that time. And then once you want the message to be displayed, you just hit submit, and that will send the message up here. And this is like a list of previous announcements that I've sent out. And then from there, I can come by and delete a certain announcement if I don't want to see it anymore, or if I want to edit something, you can do that. Generally speaking, you don't need to do anything with this screen. But if I go back to the home screen, you'll see that message appears now. And again, since this is a district-only message, Nobody is going to be able to see this message unless you have a district manager or an account at the Earth district, our little demo district here in SRS. When it comes through for the first time, until you've read the message, it'll show as bold type. And then if I click on it, I can display the message and see what the message said. And then once I've read the message, it gets returned back to plain type. So it doesn't, so you don't have to read everything over and over again. So anything new will show up as bold. Anything you've read already just becomes plain type. So that's kind of where we got with that. Then I wanted to show you the Students tab a little bit. There's been some changes there. The most notable change is just the overall format of the page. So we used to have pretty much our student interface section where you put in what you're searching for. Probably went to about this highlighted area here that I have on the screen. It really filled up a lot of the screen, and when you did a search, you'd always have to scroll down to see the results. So to try to minimize that as best we could, we put the student search information or the search menus over to the left, and that way we have more screen real estate on the side here, so you don't have to scroll so much to see your results. We just thought that might be a little bit more efficient that way. As far as the search by, we still have all the criteria that we used to have. Search by first name, last name, grades, all that stuff is still there. The one thing we don't have that I want to see us add is something similar to case manager, last name, and first name. So for those who maybe don't know, if I wanted to see who a given person in my school was, the case manager for, I could select case manager last name, put in the name of that personnel who works in my school, and then when the search results come by, it would show me the people that person is listed as the case manager for. So we wanted to do something similar to that, but with team members as well. So for instance, if you wanted to know like who a certain physical therapist in your district was serving, you could put in that physical therapist last name, do that search, and it would show you everybody where that person is on the student team of that student. Okay. We also have this section here where it's, by default, we're going to only show you active students when you do a search. If you want to have your search include not only active students but inactive students, what you want to do is check this one that says show all students. And especially nowadays when people are putting in exit dates and exit reasons before they transfer a student to you, a lot of those transfers are going to come through as an inactive record. And so when you want to search for those guys, you're going to need to search with this radio button selected, show all students, so it shows you not only active but inactive students. Then they will show up, and then at that point you can assign them, activate the records and remove the exit dates, that sort of thing. And one of my favorite things we had this year, and it still needs a little work, of course, but I do like how it works. If you recall last year, we had what we called phone book report, the different search formats, I think is what we call them. And one was like school list, one was phone book, and one was MDT IEP report. And basically, whenever you select a different format, it would change the data that appears on the search results. So we kind of took that, at least in my mind, to the next level. So now you can do a lot of those things on demand. So there's a section here that says display options. And if I click on that, this gives me a little bit more control of what information I see in the search screens like so. And what's kind of cool, at least in my mind it's kind of cool, is that a lot of these things work instantaneously where you don't have to rerun the port. So for instance, if I want to see the age of these students, I can click age, and then it would just instantly put that column in there. If I wanted to see alternate assessment status, you can do that, grade level, date of birth. So a lot of these things can come in automatically, and you don't have to do much. There are a couple where that doesn't work like that, and coincidentally, it's the ones that probably most people want to use, the IEP and MDT due date reports. So I'll check those just to show you what I'm talking about. So when I first click those boxes for those IEP and MDT due date reports, the dates don't appear on the search. However, you can get them by just running your search again. So once you have those options selected, if you run your search again, it will put in those dates. And I got to tell you, at this moment in time, there's some problems with both of these dates, and they don't sort properly. So it's not a whole lot of use to you probably right now. But the good news is I did just talk to our programmer today. These fixes, as well as a few other ones that people have been waiting for, are on his current to-do list, and he's working on them right now. So it is my prediction by the end of this week, or certainly by like Monday or Tuesday of next week, I would say at the latest, we should have these systems working again, working properly. So the MDT and determination notice should all produce the right dates. Right now, it's not taking into account determination notices, so that's a problem. And the IEP is not taking into account IFSP forms, and they don't sort properly. So I think I mentioned that already. But so there's definitely some problems with these right now, but they are on the short list of things to get fixed, so it won't be too much longer at all for those to get done. And same thing. These options up here are in the same boat. We do expect these to be working. Actually, I heard these might be in the next day or two. So I'll let you know what these two options up here do, just so, because they will be available shortly. This one here is export to CSV. And so what that's going to do is once I run any kind of a search and I got all my data displayed on the screen like so, I can click export to CSV. And what it's going to do is just take all the data that you see on the search screen, and it's going to turn into a comma-separated values file, which is just a file that is used in spreadsheets. So if I save a CSV file and then I just try clicking on it on my computer, it's going to ask me, do I want to open up that file with Excel or whatever spreadsheet you're used to using? So it's just ultimately it's a way to get data out of SRS into a spreadsheet from where you can do other reports, you can do all sorts of other information with. So that'll be coming shortly, as will the print results section. And the print results button, all that really does is take the data that you see here, put it into its own nice little pop-up screen, but it's not going to have any of the navigation that you see around it. It's just going to be a nice, clean printout, this nice, clean page that has just the student information on it, so you can print out a nice caseload or a list of your students, and not have all this other stuff around it too. So we should be seeing those changes coming up very shortly. Okay, so then also we still have the collections bar, if you recall those from the previous years. I did want to show you that just real quick because I know that there's some nice time-saving features built into that, but it does look and operate just a little bit differently than last year. And when it comes to transfers, it definitely has some problems right now. So I wanted to kind of take you through some of the little pitfalls until we get those fixed on the transfer feature and just let you know about that. So let me get into that a little bit. So the collections feature is still available. You're going to find it at the upper right corner of the student search results. To enter the screen, what I'm going to do is click the students option right here. And that's going to open up this little pop-up screen. And then from there, you can start working on any previous collections you might have created. If you have any previous collections that you've set up before, you should be able to find them from this menu here that says Select Collections in this menu. So if I click in this menu, this will show all the different collections that I've set up in the past. But you can also create a brand new one. So if you don't have any collections, if you were to click into this menu and see nothing, what that just tells you is you got to first create a collection. So I wanted to show you how to do that real quick. Creating a collection is just nothing more than naming something. Thinking of this as like just a file on your computer, like you'd put paperwork into. You just think of it as a file. So it's a file. We got to name that file. So I'll just name it ESU number 1 because that's what we're talking to now. So we'll call this collection ESU1, and then to save it or to generate it officially, I'm going to click this little button that has a little plus icon right here. So if I click that, it's going to drop that collection into this, the selected collection. So if you see it in the menu, that means it's ready to go. And then all you got to do from there is populate the collection with the students that you want to use. And to do that, what you got to do is just check on these little boxes to the left of the student's SRS ID number up here. So I got my collection set up, so if I want to add students to it, I'm going to check this box. And as soon as I do that, you'll see the new student's name has been added over here. So let me just add a few like so. And you see as I added, 5 names there, then we have 5 names here. And then once you have students built into your collection, it's going to save them there. So I can come back to these whenever, or I could do these things in a temporary sort of way. So if I just wanted to transfer some students, I could put them into a temporary collection like so, transfer them, and then just put these little red X's to get rid of the student names after I'm ready to be done with it. So then once you do that, you have different, here we go. So we have different options that you can use that are built into the system. So once I have students in here, you're going to see this menu appear that says Select Group Action. And then to do that, you can see the different options we have available so far. And that includes the ability to batch print forms, transfer students, assign team members, or assign case managers to groups of students. So just real briefly, I'll show you what each of those does, just so you're aware. So the most common one, and one that works for every SRS user, is the one here that says print. So this was built in mind with the idea that maybe, like in October, you want to print all of your progress reports in one sitting. So you wouldn't have to, basically go to, form screen, go to find the print it, go back to search for the next kid, hit forms, back and forth. This way I just check the names of the students that I want to have print. Then I come in here, put them into the collection, I select print, and then it asks me what form I want to print. Again, we had progress reports in mind, but you could really print any form. And I got to tell you, at this moment in time, our progress report forms aren't printing very well, and they really aren't very well formulated. With all the problems we had, we pushed the progress report completion back a little bit, thinking that October is really when people start using it. So probably not this week, but next week we intend to get working on the progress report feature to get that up and running. So that will be available shortly. But so right now, just for demonstration's sake, I'll choose IEP, just because I know that a lot of these records here have an IEP. And then you get to choose which IEP you want to do. So you can choose from most recent IEP, the most recent finalized IEP, or the most recent draft IEP. I'll probably get better results if I put most recent form. But once I've done that, I just filled in those 2 menus. Then all I just do is hit this print button. It's going to open up a new tab on my browser. So I was thinking I still have my original tab over here, but over in this section, it's kind of processing, and it's basically going through the names of all those students, finding their most recent IEP, and then it's just stacking one on top of another, so that what we have here is a 48-page document. It has probably multiple IEPs in it, and they're just one on top of another. So you'd still just print one document, print out all 48 pages. Then of course you can separate them out, staple them, put them there, but you don't have to go back and forth to get those separate forms. They'll just be all here. So there's one ending right there. Yeah, there we go. And then there's the next one that we have. So it just kind of works like that. Same basic concept applies when we're talking about assigning team members or case managers. So if I wanted to say, take all these kids here and assign a team member to them, I can do that. So I'll select assign team member from the menu. The one thing what you got to do with assigning team members and case managers, every student in the collection has to be from the same school, okay? And the reason for that is that we want to give you a list of all the personnel in that given school that you could possibly select as a team member. So if we wanted to, say, make Mars Man as one of our fake districts, I wanted to make that count the team member for all of these students. I just select the name of the person I want to be on this team, and I hit assign, and then it'll give me a little confirmation and let me know that it was done. So those are some of the batch processes that we have. But I also just wanted to teach you about the transfers a little bit, because that has been an area where it's been a little rough. So, I'm going to select transfer students from the group actions menu. So when I go to transfer a student, I want to make sure I have the collection right. I want to make sure I have all my students that I want to transfer in the right place. And then I want to go to, this guy asks me to choose the county, district, and school of where I want to initiate the student transfer to, okay? So I'll send these kids from my Earth district to my Mars district. And so I'm going to choose the county Z demo, Mars district, and then the school building is called Mars. And then once I do that, I'll get this little option here to just hit transfer. And this is where some of the problems that we currently are having come in. Let's see what happens here. So I'm going to hit transfer. Okay, so you can see where I clicked the button, but nothing seemed to happen. That is exactly the problem that we have that our programmer is trying to figure out right now. What is happening here is that every time I'm clicking this transfer button, I'll click it one more time. It is actually initiating the transfer of these students to the Mars district. It does it each and every time. So in clicking that button twice, I've now sent 6 students to their school district to initiate a transfer. So that is not how it's supposed to be, of course. That is the bug that our guys are trying to work through right now, and that's probably our top priority, I'd say, right now. But when we get that fixed, this will work a lot better. But just know if you're transferring students right now, unless you get some sort of error message that tells you it's not gone through, the transfer has gone through. It doesn't tell you anything about it. So it's broken. That's what's going on. So also at this very moment in time, again, we want to fix it. But at this moment in time, when I initiate a transfer, I don't believe the email is getting sent to the school manager at the other school right now. So what you're going to want to do at this moment in time, until we put up an announcement that says that this is all working, what you want to do is go to the schools tab. I'm just going to open it up in a new menu so I don't lose my place there. But you want to go to the schools tab, pick the district of the school where you want to initiate the transfer to, find the school, and then what I would do is go to their school profile page and look for like the phone number and email, or email address or name of the school manager out there. And I would recommend you just contact them directly and let them know that you've initiated the transfer, because it's not sending anything as of right now. And that, like I said, that is one of our biggest priorities to fix. So this, the need to call out there to somebody is only a very short-term fix, and that will be fixed almost certainly this week. So we're very, very close to being done on that one. But anyway, so we initiated the transfer, or maybe you get a call that says somebody else has initiated a transfer to you. So I wanted to show you the rest of the process. So other transfer processes, this is how you initiate, but everything else you'll get through the Students tab, and then you go to Transfer Students. That's the screen you want to go to. So I'll click on that. So Students tab, Transfer Students. And then every single time I go to this page, and until we get this fixed, I'm getting 3 warning messages, and this is one of them. And I don't get a sense that it's doing anything. These messages don't seem to be hurting anything, but it is sending a message to a lot of people that transfers aren't working at all. But I do want to let you know that they are working. It's just we got some issues to work through here, unfortunately. But to get through this, I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to give me 3 messages. And once that's done, they don't show up again, and everything seems to work fine. So we'll just have to do that for right now. But again, we will get that fixed before too long. The next one here is imagine now we've got a call from somebody said, well, I've initiated some transfers to you. So for me to confirm those transfers, this is where I'm going to bring me to the Transfer Student screen on the Students tab. I'm going to get through those 3 messages, and then I'm going to click on this first option here that says Students to confirm transfer into. If I click on that, it's going to allow me to select the district that I'm interested in. In case you have multiple districts, it asks you for district. But when I do that, it's going to show me a list of any student whose transfer has been initiated to my school district. It shows me the names of the students, and these are all fake students that I use, so they all have the Zen name. So these aren't real kids or anything, but it tells me these transfers are been initiated from the demo district, demo elementary. They were initiated on this particular date, and they were sent to this school right here. So that just kind of tells me the information of where they're coming from, where they'll end up going. And then to confirm those transfers, all I got to do is come over here and push this button that says confirm. I don't want to do it because it'll ruin my example, but if I just hit confirm, instantly this record becomes my possession at that point. So as soon as you hit confirm, that student becomes yours. You can reactivate the file. You can assign students and get to work immediately on the student. Also, nowadays, since that transfer button is broken, when you come to this screen, you may very well see 10 to 15 student names all identical, because what's happening is people are clicking that transfer button 2, 3, 4 times, and why wouldn't they? Because they're not getting any feedback from SRS telling them not to. They think it doesn't work, so they're trying everything to click it. But meanwhile, every time they click that button, it's sending in a new batch of students to come through. Again, we want to fix that as soon as we can, but in the meantime, I would recommend just deleting them. And you can delete them by just clicking this little delete button like so. Click that, that record disappears. Even if you were to confirm the same student 2 or 3 times, it's not going to hurt anything. It'll only bring one record in. Once the record becomes yours, it really doesn't matter what's on this confirmation screen. That's all the process needs to do, is just bring that student to your site. So once you have possession of that student, it really doesn't matter what you do. So if you have, I'd maybe confirm the first one and then delete all the rest, just knowing that that's a temporary fix and that we will not have you do that forever. Also, just a little difference, this is something new this year, so you can now click on these student names, and it'll actually tell you the name and email of the person who initiated that transfer to you. So, maybe sometimes you come to the screen and you see a transfer for a student. You have no idea who that is. You don't think it belongs to you. What you could do then is you got the name and the email address of the person who initiated that transfer to you. You could just copy this, email into an email, send it back to them to say, hey, I got a transfer from you. Is this meant to be for me? Chances are it's an accident if you don't know anything about it, and just allows us to kind of head off a problem so we maybe don't confirm students if they are not meant to be there. So anyway, that's just one option that's built into it. Then we also built in some tools to allow you to know where students that you currently have transferred in from, and then where students who have recently left your district, where they transferred to. So it just gives you information on where kids came from, where they left to. So it gives you just maybe an idea of where the students' records are now. Should anybody be asking for it, or should you realize that maybe there's something we needed to touch up on one of the IEPs or something? This would let you know where it went. So I'll show you those here. So history of students transferred into. Again, I'll select my district. But this just tells you, we had a little fake student named Ansel Adams, came from the Hodor Public Schools, Hodor District. This is the date the initiation was to, and this is where the record came from. So it just lets you know things like where the record is now, where it went, where it came from. And then again, you can click on the student name and see the name of the person who initiated that transfer to your district, should you ever need to contact them. And then the same concept applies down here on the students transferred out of. Again, you can see the students who have recently left your district, which school they're in, where they went, which districts they went to, and what day that happened. And again, if if you're missing a kid, and that happened a fair amount a couple of years back when we made some errant changes, people were accidentally transferring students, and then they didn't know where it happened because they didn't really mean to transfer the file. So if ever something like that happens again, you can come back here, click on the name, and you can see you can see who the person was who initiated the transfer, so you can go talk to them, tell them maybe they're doing it the wrong way or what have you, and it also says who it was sent to on the other end, just so for your information. And then also, this is something that we added just recently. This was something, again, that was broken that we recently fixed. We now have a request for transfer feature, so I wanted to show you that. So what this is comprised of is a place where you can say, I want this record transferred from wherever school district you know them to currently be attending. And then you can say, I want them transferred to, and then you can say the district where the school in your district where you want the student sent. So where you want the file sent. So, I might do something like, so I'll choose my county as Z Demo County. Then I can put in I want to request a district from Mars district, Mars school, and it kind of fills in that for you. And I want to send it to my Earth district on Z Demo County, Earth district, Planet Earth school. So I'm going to say, this is where I want the transfer from, this is where I want the file to, and then I can put in the names of the students that I'd like them to send it to me. So I'll just put in my own name here. And maybe that student has a sibling, you want to send both, request the files for both, you can do that. There's a little button here that says add student. So if I click on that, it's going to add another row, and I'll just put in my own system name here. Okay, so then you can do that. And then once you have all the names that you'd like to request, all you got to do then is hit the send request button. That's going to send an email, and I've confirmed that that email is going out now, and it'll send the receiver, the person from the from district, an email saying, Wakefield has requested the file, and should get that to them, and gives them a message saying they'd like you to initiate that transfer, and then you'll go back to the student search on that collections tab, and initiate the search like we did there before. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew that was working. Also, while I'm on here, I don't run out of time quick. Okay, real quick, we do have a caseload report, so I wanted to show you that real quick. I put in Earth District, Planet Earth School. What it's going to do is show me a list of personnel who are in this district in this school. And if I click on, say, Reggie Adviso here, it's going to just show me a list of students in that particular school that this user has access to. So basically, if I just wanted to find out who a given person's working with, I could put them into this caseload report and see that information. I got to tell you, this is kind of our first attempt at this. Having put this out a little bit, we've kind of thought of some ways to improve on it. We think it'd be nice if we had some way to toggle between, is this person a team member for certain kids, is a case manager for certain kids. We thought it'd be nice to have like a way to print this list should the user themselves want to be able to print it. And we also thought it might be useful if it wasn't tied to a given school, but maybe just a whole school district. So somebody could see every person, say, our school psych is working with in the whole district, as opposed to just searching by one school at a time. So we do have some ways to update this a little bit, but that's something we'll be working on before too long here. Next thing I'll show you just real briefly, we added to the personnel screen. You have options now to search for personnel by district, by school building if you want, or you can just search by people by first name and last name. So if I just if I skip these stop sections up here entirely, and just put in my own first name and last name, I can do a search, and it'll bring me it's like I have multiple accounts here. And actually, if I switch it to sometimes that does that. But anyway, the thing I wanted to show you that's added this year is in the past, if you wanted somebody to have privileges at your particular school district, what you would have to do is contact that person, tell them how to get onto SRS and apply for privileges. Then you get an email, and then you go from that email to their personnel screen and activate their account request. And it just requires a fair number of steps involved. When maybe if you're just the supervisor at the particular school, and you need to work with somebody, what you can do is just grant them privileges instantly through this button here. So I wanted to show you that. So if I click Grant Privileges, I can click that, and then it just allows me to directly give that person the access they need without them applying, without them doing anything. So if I knew that one person wanted to be a case manager at my Earth district and my public Planet Earth school, I can just directly give it to them, and then when I click Save, it's just going to assign that privilege to them. So if you have that person who, maybe somebody's new starting, whatever, you can just give them the privileges. You can actually then, once they have privileges, you can assign them team members, you can assign them to case managers, do all that. And when the day they show up, they can have all their accounts all set up, ready to go, and they can just kind of hit the ground running, and you can skip all the steps and just do it beforehand. You can still do the requests for privileges. That was something that's broke that has now been fixed. So you can click to new privilege requests. It'll do the same basic thing, but this way you apply for it, and what it'll do is leave you an inactive request, send the user an email, the school manager where you're applying an email saying that you've requested an account, and then they can activate it like the old way we used to do it too. So both of those options work. Well, I'm running out of time, so let me skip. I wanted to show you a few things on the forms before I left you, so I'm going to skip to that here. Got my student there. So let me show you just real quick here. some of the changes on the forms. And I got to tell you, there are some problems right now, so we're still working through the IEP. We have a lot of IEP fixes, a lot of MDT fixes, and a lot of IFSP fixes coming down the road this very week. So we should see some improvements to some of the little issues that we've got going here. So I'm hoping we'll have these main forms working pretty well. I'm hoping by this Friday. We've already fixed a bunch of things, but there are some more additional changes coming. So just let you know about that. Some of the changes that you'll see on the forms, I'm just going to show you one because it kind of represents all the forms. Every form has been updated. We've had a couple changes. So one thing you'll notice on the site is this little toolbar that kind of floats with you. So as I scroll up and down, you'll see that this section stays static on the page. So that just keeps you, so you're never too far away from like the save button or some of these navigations. So I'll just kind of tell you real briefly what this does. This little icon looks like an eyeball. That just takes you from the editable version of this form to the view-only version. If I click on the this little printer icon, that will print this document, basically turns it into that PDF, and you can print the whole document. This little 90s floppy disk icon, that's the save button. Actually, if you mouse over it, you can see where it says save over, the save pops up too, just gives you an idea of what's going on there. And then this little checkbox one is the done button. So if you want to unlock the form so somebody else can get in, that would allow you to do that as well. Also a little bit different here, like our page validations or our page status, that's updated a little bit this year too. Where in the past we had black and red letters to recognize if the page was complete or incomplete. A little bit different this year. Now the pages are going to be red if there's something that's required. They'll turn red and it'll just be plain white if all the requirements for that page have been satisfied. So let you know about that. And actually to navigate the pages, rather than click that little menu that we used to have, you can actually just click directly on the page numbers now. So I want to go page 1 to 2. I just click on number 2 there, and that'll take me to the forms as so. And another thing I just want to let you know about is that we did update our text boxes this year. And we used to have a product called Tiny MCE, but it was like 5 years old. So we got the newest version of it. And I think it's working pretty well. You can still copy and paste from Microsoft Word and all those things you could do before. But it does have a few extra little bells and whistles. So I just wanted to go through that just to let you know what those are. So we have like one section here, an undo and redo button. So if you put in some extra, some typing that maybe you put it in the wrong text box or what have you, if you just want to undo that, there's a little button here that says undo. If I click that, it'll just undo that text. And if I want to put it back, maybe I didn't mean to undo it, I can do redo and it'll put it back. So not a big deal there. It also works with keyboard shortcuts. So if I use on my keyboard Command and Z, it's the same thing as undo. And if I do Command and Y, it redoes the text. If you're a PC user, just instead of the Command key on a Mac keyboard, you'll use the Control key. But the same concept applies. I think we always had different headings, so we still have those. You can have more bold headings, make the page look a little more readable. You can still do things like bold text, italics. One thing that's new this year is you can change the color of your text. I'm not so sure that's something people need to do, but if you're interested in doing that, you can. It will print in color as well. I think this is new this year. Do different alignments, so you can put like center a heading on the page if you wanted to. Maybe make the form just a little more readable. You can put like a centered title in front of certain sections, or you can do left and right align. If that ever makes sense to do. If you click on these buttons here, there's a bullet list and numbered list that you can do. So this might be useful if you're talking about putting benchmarks or something on the page 4 of the IEP. You can put like a little numbered list, do stuff like that, so it sorts it out nice. It gives you different options too. You can do different kinds of bullets, different kinds of numbered lists, so it gives you more options like that. Oh, hello. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Then we also have indentations. I don't know if that's something we had last year either, so I'll just show you that real quick. You click these decrease indent, you can make the text go back. Have a good day. If you click indent forward, you can move the text forward and backward. This just allows you to put in, maybe some nicer columns, different things like that. I remember a time in SRS when we wanted to have a certain indentation. What we'd have to do is do one of these things where we'd have to do like dot, 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 make it look like that, and then it'd always get a little interrupted. So that's an improvement from what we had way back when. Actually, I'll use my undo button. So anyway, indentations. A lot of keyboard shortcuts work, so you don't have to keep going up to the toolbars if you're in a long paragraph. So it has all the different options here. So like Command B, it gives you based on your the kind of computer that you have. You can access these keyboard shortcuts by clicking on this little question mark icon like so. Another option we have now is clear formatting. This one will come in handy if maybe you copy and pasted some text from maybe another website or even Google Docs, something like that. Sometimes where the formatting gets a little kooky looking, sometimes you'll see some weird spacing issues. So sometimes just the solution to a problem is just to remove all that extra formatting just so you can get it to a clean place on the page. So the way that'll work is now that I've got all this text here, I tried to put in just different underlines, different kinds of text. What you want to get rid of that formatting, what you do is come up to this button here that says, it looks like a little T with an X by it, but if I clear that, I click that, it's just going to wipe out all the extra formatting, just give me some plain text. That would usually correct any kind of weird issues that you're seeing. And then once you have that done, you can go back and, if you lost some things that were bold that you wanted, you can always go back and put those in or use keyboard shortcuts to do that. So that will be a solution to you if you have some problems where you're seeing some weird stuff and things you copy and pasted. There's also a button that allows you to print the text. So if I do that, I click this little print icon, what it'll do is just print the contents of this one text box. So I don't know, if you ever needed to, maybe you're working on basis for determination on page 3 of the MDT, that's usually a big, long text box. You just want to preserve that, make sure you have it documented. You can run a print of that just to make sure make sure you're safe. And that's the best I can come up with for that one. But here's the one that I'm probably the most excited about. So in the past, we let you do tables. So you can do a table like in Microsoft Word with a little chart, with the lines and everything. And then you can paste it into SRS and, it would still hold its formatting. And I think it still does for the most part now, so you can still do that. But one of the things we changed this year is that you can now just draw your own table and do a table directly into SRS, not into that third-party site, which we thought maybe would be a little bit easier. So if I wanted to add a table, to present some data or what have you, what I do is go to this little table icon, click on it, and then it just allows me to draw out my table. So if I want to do a little 3x3 table, I can do that. 4x4, whatever. I think it goes up to a 10x10, which would be pretty big, I think. But I don't know. Anyway, I'll just do like a 3x3 little table, and it instantly just puts in the the basics of the table, and I can use this line to control my columns. Set it however I want. So you can do that. I think you can even drag this in like so. So you can kind of format it a little bit. But to put the data in, it's pretty easy. I'm just going to click some random typing, and then whenever I hit my tab key, it's just going to take me to the next cell. So tab, next cell, tab, next cell, tab. Anyway, you can fill in the data pretty quickly like that. And then it also comes with these little little options here too. So I can expand a row, delete a row, can add different rows to it. But the favorite thing that I had, just because we used to get this at the help desk all the time, is it used to be if you tried to delete a table, you went and clicked all the data, and you hit the delete key, what it would do is delete the text, but it would still leave the outlines of the table behind. So the nice thing about this new one is it just has a delete table button. So if I want to just get rid of the table, I don't have to do all the, used to have to kind of select up here and drag it all the way down there. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just click delete table, and the whole thing just disappears, which is kind of nice. That's something that didn't work before. And then the last thing I wanted to show you, I see I'm running out of time here. We do have spell check built into all the text, to all the text boxes. By default, it's been turned on, so everybody has access to the spell check. It doesn't work like it did before, where it spell checked the whole page. This one it checks the spelling as you're typing. So I did a little sample here. So to correct a misspelled word, what I'm going to do is on the right click on my mouse, right click on it, and it'll give you the suggested spelling for that misspelled word. So I can just click that in there and instantly replace that with the properly spelled word. And you can see that goes actually pretty fast. So you can kind of do that at the end, or you can do it as you type, whatever makes sense to you. But so I just want to let you know we do have spell check. Yeah, I'm out of time, everybody. There's probably a few other things I could show you, but I do have time for questions. So I guess if anybody needs to head out, you can, but I'll stay as long as you guys have questions, or if anybody has anything for me like that, we could do that now. Otherwise, that's really all I wanted to show you. So is there any questions at this point? I think a lot of people are muted too, so you might have to unmute if you had a question. Okay, I having heard no questions, I guess we'll just leave that now. I'll stay on a little bit, so if you you have a question, I'll hang back a little bit. But otherwise, thank you all very much, and just know that we're going to get all those problems ASAP, and we're going to get the site running properly as soon as we possibly can. Thank you very much, everybody.